yeah, I don't know. I don't know that there's a better CV out there, really. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Dee Woods. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here and to welcome everyone into my home, my kitchen. This is my living room. It's also the home of Ali Baba's cavern, as someone once described it, because of my spice collection. But yeah, just glad to be here and to be able to cook and share sort of politics, spirituality, and good food. So I'm going to get my assistant to lift the basket of food that I have because it's so big and heavy. So this here is from Granville Community Kitchen's Good Food Box. And reason we started the Good Food Box was to make good food, organic food, culturally appropriate food available to everyone. And we start from £3.10 for a small bag with, I think it's 6 items. And we chose £3.10 because that's the value of a Healthy Start voucher right now. So we're making it accessible to everyone, and people either pay in advance or they pay when they come to collect it, to make it truly accessible to people who cannot, afford to put that much money out at, the beginning of the month or the end of the month. So here we have herbs and vegetables and squashes. I'm keeping squashes. I'm saving squashes, winter squashes. Onions, kale, garlic, all grown in the UK. In sort of southwest Devon and Dorset, we also support the better food traders, right, who amalgamate food from all over the UK, but mainly southeast and southwest as well. So beautiful carrots, look at that, beautiful carrots. But to keep it culturally appropriate, we're also working with a member of the African and Caribbean Food Heritage Network, which I co-founded earlier this year. And we bring in things like plantains and yams and okra. So yeah, so that's our box there. And I'm gonna give this to my son because Jaden, who's my sous chef today, because that's heavy. So let's crack on. So I'm gonna start with our spicy greens because that's what we need. Another recipe that uses kale. Right? That's what's in season right now, isn't it? We have to learn to eat seasonally if we want to reduce our impact on sort of climate and biodiversity loss. We need to learn to eat more locally and only sort of work with other countries and other farmers, small farmers, for those things that we can't actually grow here. So like plantains and yams. So I'm gonna start, and I'm using coconut oil because that's what I grew up using, coconut oil and ghee, but I also use olive oil. So some organic, you could tell it's cold because it's solid. All right, so yeah, so that's probably about a tablespoon, and your recipe that you have is a guideline. I don't grow up with recipes. I grew up sort of cooking sort of intuitively. So eyeing it, seeing what things look like, smelling, tasting, and yeah. So your recipe is just a guideline. And for this, I'm putting in about 6 cloves of, and I do say about 6 cloves of garlic because I love garlic. Lots of garlic. And I've just bashed it, which is the Trini way of doing it. We just bash it or pong it, remove the skin and throw it in. And you're going to notice as well, I use my hands a lot because hands are your best, your best kitchen tool. Just means you have to wash them a lot. So I'm putting in some garlic. And I don't know if you could hear that. It went like schwa. That means your oil is hot enough. Yeah. And in Trinidad, where I grew up, if you don't hear that, that means you're not cooking properly. So I'm adding 1 shallot because I didn't get a spring onion. I saw spring onions and I forgot to pick them up. Yeah, so I'm just using that. I'm also going to add a whole bit of cinnamon stick. And this here is one of my trusty woks. I just love woks. Yeah, to stop that from burning. I'm gonna add some French thyme or small leaf thyme, as we say in Trinidad. Yeah, so these are like our aromatics. Yeah, normally we'll just chuck the entire thing in, right? And as children, it's like, Mom, we don't want the trees in our food. So I'm just gonna take the leaves off. And thyme I have grown in my garden, usually. So it's not just stuff from Good Food Box, there are things from my garden as well. So I'm gonna use a spoon, and one thing that I do with this work is I travel a lot. So when I travel to other places, I buy kitchen equipment, spoons and pots, anything that I could fit into my rather small suitcase. And that's beginning to smell amazing already. Starting to caramelize a bit. So I'm going to start adding some kale. And I have purple kale and I have green kale just for interest. But the purple and red kales tend to be sweeter as well. And that's what a lot of Caribbean people look for, sweetness in their food. But there's a way of doing it without adding sugar. And kale is like really one of those good greens that I think we don't eat enough of. Yeah, despite there being so much kale in everyone's sort of veg boxes or in supermarkets, I think people just need to find new recipes. All right, so I'm adding this slowly, making a mess, because that's what I do. You know, one sees behind scenes, they normally see the finished product. And I'm also gonna add some leaf spinach, some beet spinach, which is a bit tougher than normal spinach. So all this from the Good Food Box. And I didn't dry anything because I wanted whatever water was on it to help prevent it from sticking. And do feel free to ask me questions. Normally, in whatever kitchen I'm cooking in, there's lots of chat, there's music, there's dancing. So I love music, absolutely love music. So just allowing those vegetables to soften. And you usually have to use quite a lot because it disappears. In Trinidad, we have a saying, boil down like bhaji. And bhaji just means spinach. Yeah, it's Hindi for spinach. Right, and already that's halfway there. I'm gonna add some more. So this is lunch and dinner.
Ilana's asked whether this is a recipe you grew up eating.
This is something I just made up. Yeah. You know, I've had greens, I've kale, spring greens, and just add stuff there until it tastes good. What we do have in Trinidad is a dish called callaloo, which is made from taro leaves, coconut milk, ginger or green seasoning, yeah, which is this stuff here, which is basically just minced garlic and herbs and ginger, hot chilies, flavor chilies, and this we virtually use in everything. And I'm going to use a bit of that in this because I also forgot ginger. All right, and that's what cooking is. You know, you use what you have. You don't need to follow a recipe directly. You use what you have, but the ginger brings warmth. In my case, I'm going to use chili to bring a lot more warmth. All right, so.
Oh, Dee, can I ask? When I went to Trinidad, I actually got some green seasoning, and then I kept it in my cupboard for years, but I kind of used it, but I didn't know whether I should be using it for over a year, but I did.
If you're buying the commercial one that has additives, you can.
Someone made it for me.
If it's a fresh one like this, you need to keep it in fridge, and I would say use it within 3 months.
Okay, thank you.
And the only preservative in this is a bit of salt.
Nice, thank you.
Right, I wish we had smelly vision because this smells so good now. Right, and there are people who would like it just like this and just season it. You know, stir-fried green. But as I said, in Trinidad, we like sweetness, and Caribbean, a lot of times we like a bit of sweetness. So because I've forgotten tomatoes also, I'm using tin tomatoes. I'm breaking into my Brexit stock. Yeah, so I'm just going to use a little bit of tin tomatoes. I'm going to add some coconut cream, which I always have. Right, but I grew up having to break your coconuts and grate your coconut and make fresh coconut milk. But here, yeah, coconut cream works for me. And all these things just have sweetness, it's healthy fats. And in the winter, we need fats. As much as I like eating raw foods and salads, in winter, I crave fat and I crave starch. So potatoes and roots, carrots and beetroot. You know, once I had to do this for about 200 people. I won't tell you how long it took and in how many pans I had going at the same time. So I'm gonna add last greens. And if I can find my curry powder, I'm gonna add a bit of curry powder. And there are so many versions of masala. Yes, I'm very decolonized. Masala rather than curry. Curry is a British invention. All right, so there are many 101 recipes for masala. And this is a Trinidadian one which has quite a lot of turmeric in it. Has a bit of fennel. You know, it's quite fragrant. And in Ayurveda, curry is one of those things that helps. Or masala and turmeric helps with inflammation. So they say add curry to everything. And literally, I have a shaker with curry that I sprinkle on everything. And because I'm going to be adding black pepper, some ginger from green seasoning. Oh, I wish you could smell that. That's just amazing. Some ginger from green seasoning. Yeah, it is balance. And that is part of what winter is as well. During summer, we're so active, it's hot, you know. And now we're in this time of darkness and cool. So we need to balance our body, get our systems back in order. So I'm just going to let that curry cook for a bit. Might add a bit more tomato. As I said, I cook by sight and smell. And you can add a bit of water, but normally when you add water, you're taking away nutrients, you're taking away a lot of the flavor. And I'm going to add, what am I looking for? I'm looking for my favorite salt right now, which is a spicy garlic pepper salt, which is basically habanero scotch bonnet with dried garlic and sea salt. As I said, I don't have ginger, so bringing it in with the chili. Gonna add a little bit of this green seasoning, and you know, each time I make it, it's different. It depends on what herbs I have available. But I also try to put in the Trinidadian herbs, and those would be Cuban oregano, fat leaf thyme, which you could get quite easily in London. Another herb we call Shadow Benny, which probably 10 years ago you couldn't get in London, but you can now. Mainly in sort of Thai and Chinese shops.
Do they call it Shadow Benny? Because I haven't been able to get a hold of it. Does it go by another name?
No, they don't call it Shadow Benny. Sawtooth herb or Engo Gai. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. But for some of the Chinese shops, they do put Shadow Benny.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. We've actually got a couple. I asked what brand the masala is, please. And then we've got another question. Do you make the salt yourself? And what's the ingredients, please?
No, I didn't make this one. I bought this one. Cheating. All right, but normally I have all sorts of concoctions. I do have a lot of concoctions, but this one is quite expensive actually. But yeah, so I use Chief, which is a Trinidadian brand.
Okay.
And you can get that in most shops selling Caribbean food or African food now, or you could get it online where I got this. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
And the salt is a caramel gourmet, but you could easily make it yourself with dried chilies, crushed dried chilies, salt. What else did they put in this? Dried garlic. They have dried red pepper. Yeah, and just make it yourself. Much cheaper. All right, so I think this is almost done. Might add a bit of crushed pepper. Sous chef, where's my crushed pepper? Or didn't you crush any again for me? All right. And I like to use the mixed peppercorns, which normally has pimento, red, white, green, and black. I don't think anything's coming out of this. And I'll add it towards the end because I like the flavor of it. I never use crushed pepper or ground pepper because it literally has no flavor. None whatsoever, just heat. All right, so I think we are almost ready. Yep, that's almost ready. So I'm just gonna throw in some mixed herbs. Yeah, so it'll build on the green seasoning. So that's parsley and coriander. And my favorite, chilies. And just stir that through. Right, and you can add as much curry as you like, or turmeric.
Antoinette says she's added super seed mix from Lidl.
Yeah.
And
so I'm putting that on a plate that you can't see, but then I'll show you after. Go. Sous chef. There we have it. My spicy greens. And I normally like to eat this with fried plantains. Sorry, I didn't fry any. But fried plantains, yams or cassava. You could have this with rice, you could have this with bread. All right, but yeah, just another recipe to add to your box of kale recipes. So I'm gonna switch that off. Put that somewhere away from.
Does your sous chef get to eat that?
Yeah. Sous chef gets to eat that. Right. So
Amazing.
I'm gonna do one other recipe with kale, and it's a kale salad. And so kale salad was my introduction to kale. Yeah. And I thought, wow, that is the
Antoinette.
most...
Can you see Antoinette?
Oh, wait, let's see.
All right, so I'm gonna make a kale salad because I had to roast squash for gnocchi. So I'm only using half the squash. The other half I'm gonna be putting into this salad. So I cut my kale, massaged it with some olive oil and salt. And I have some, as you can see, some roasted
What's the purpose of massaging the kale?
It breaks down the fibers and makes it easier to digest. Okay. So all this was roasted with was some same mixed peppercorns, olive oil, and yeah, I'm not a plain salt sort of person. Yeah, and I hope all these people I'm advertising, yeah, know what I'm doing. Yeah, I like using mixed salt. So Herbamare is one of my favorites. You only need a little bit of it. Okay, it's really, really salty. But this is organic herbs and vegetables, and this has a bit of chili in it. So yeah, building up on those chili flavors. So that's all the squash was roasted in, and just chopping that and adding that to the kale.
Oh, we've got a question from Elliot. She says, is there any good substitute for kale? Because kale doesn't agree with her.
Right. I would say use spinach. Yeah, sort of one of the harder leaf spinaches. Probably even one of the cabbages, maybe a Chinese cabbage or something. But yeah, anything that's sort of firm, or you can just forget and kill. All right, and just have it as a roasted vegetable salad.
Thank you.
So using some more stuff. And yes, I have asbestos hands after all these years of cooking. I roasted some shallots, some carrots and beets, and I'm gonna chop that in. And I added some of the trees, the thyme. All right, normally I like warm salads in winter, and this is one of my favorite ones. I'm just gonna add that. And that was roasted in the same blend. And I don't waste anything. So I'm gonna make a salad dressing with the leftover oil. And that's roasted garlic, which I'm gonna squeeze into the salad dressing. So this is what you call here your lanyard. This is your extra. Yeah, and this is just showing you that you don't need a recipe. Just use what you have. Be creative. So I'm pouring that into a mug. No special salad mixer thingy. No, none of that here. Right, let me add a bit more olive oil. So I'm using extra virgin olive oil. This is a Greek one. I love Greek and Tunisian olive oil. A bit of, here's maple syrup. So keeping it plant-based, and maple is one of those things you would be tapping right now. So, but just a little bit. Right, normally it would be like a honey mustard. So I'm doing maple syrup, and this, believe it or not, is mustard. It's called dragon mustard from Wales. And it's made with beetroot and mustard. So quite fiery, but then once again, building on your flavors. See, just ordinary household stuff, no special equipment, though I do like my gadgets. Have to say, I do like my gadgets. And then I'm gonna squeeze this with nice and soft. And I'm not a professional chef. I'm one of those women who learned from her mother and her grandmother and her aunts and men who cooked in our family. So you're not gonna see me do faffy stuff. Yeah? This is what most people would be doing at home. I won't be cutting it in half, and no, it's gonna
We
go
love
in
it, Dee. We love it.
Yeah, this is me. This is how I cook.
I think we all cook like that, don't we?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. All right. So for me, I don't want people to think that you need special equipment or you need to learn special techniques. This is for me cooking, cooking from love. Yeah, you're preparing food that your family is going to eat, that your loved ones are going to eat. So I'm crushing that with a teaspoon. That isn't really working. So I'm going to have a fork.
Antoinette's made the same one. Can you show us again, Antoinette? Or are you eating it? Is that the same? Wow.
I tried.
Looks great. How does it taste?
Yeah, how does it taste?
But we added crushed walnuts and we substituted the honey for syrup.
Yeah, so honey and Dijon mustard would work well. Yeah.
Yeah. Haven't got that other one. I did some steak seasoning.
Yeah, it looks lovely.
And this is coming up quite thick because of the garlic. So that means I need to add, I'm going to add a bit of vinegar. Should I go with chili vinegar? This is my homemade chili vinegar. And I just put, you know, vinegar, some peppercorn, some garlic. This does not come from Tesco's. This is homemade. This is me recycling. Yeah.
How long do you leave those in till you can use it?
This is from my stock last year. All right, but normally after 3 weeks.
So peppercorn,
chili. Yeah, after 3 or 4 weeks, and I tend to keep it in a dark place. All right, and see that's changed already just by adding that vinegar.
Oh my God, I didn't mix it up.
I'm gonna taste test, and this is the universal taste test thing here. Not a spoon. Put some in your palm. That's nice and sweet. It just needs, has a bit of a kick. Yeah, because I find that kale needs, as I said before, a bit of sweetness. So it just needs a bit of salt and pepper, and then you could mix that all up, and that's good to go. Right, so pepper.
Elliot's saying that chili vinegar sounds amazing. What's the taste like? Antoinette's pumping her fist. So yeah, it tastes good.
Right, and I use unpasteurized apple cider vinegar. So it has a bit of sweetness, a bit of sort of that spice from all the different spices in it, and then just a bit of heat, because these are mild chilies, very mild chilies. Yeah.
We'll have to start bottling it deep for Oliver and people that are interested.
Right. The amount of things people want me to bottle. Don't have the time.
Antoinette says
we want bottle D.
I was going to say some of D's sauce.
What's the secret? Now this is Scotch bonnet.
Yeah. Oh, that looks good. Right.
This is serious Scotch bonnet. My mum made this. So we added a bit to the salad.
Just a squidge. I'm just going to pour some of that on there. Now, really, I like to get my hands in there. You know what? I'm getting my hands in there. Just toss it through, and it's veg still nice and warm. All right, and this sort of salad would sit for a while, just for a while, prep in advance, so all those flavors could blend. I like dressing. I like sauce. It's a Trini thing. We like our food wet. Right. Oh. Sprinkle a bit of herbs on that. Wipe my hands in the tea towel. so that this doesn't. And there we go. Just a simple roasted squash and roasted veg kale salad. Just to use up veg in your box or seasonal veg. Right.
I know, that's good.
Wow, it looks amazing. Thanks for lunch, Dee. I wasn't sure what to make.
But, you know, simple, easy. I'm going to allow my cat to come through. Kitchen window.
Let them.
Come on, come on. Not on the cooker. Yes, I have 5 cats.
Wow.
All different characters. My lovely salad.
Ooh.
Silvers that I got in the Gambia probably about 25 years ago.
Lovely.
And I bought these ones because they have crocodiles on them. And I went into a crocodile pit and survived, to tell the truth.
That's your testimony.
Yeah, that's my testimony.
Someone said I'm ahead of the game.
Elliot.
Giselle, I'm not ahead of the game. I'm with the game. You told us to get our ingredients ready. I got them ready. I got my kids as my kitchen hands.
Hey. You're showing us how to do it. We're always saying we want to join along, but our multitasking skills are not on point enough. I don't know that I can host them.
I know, it's not easy. It's not easy. I've got 3 people helping me. I don't know how to do these do it myself.
No, well, normally when I do demos, I do have about 3 people helping. Right? When I'm cooking at Granville Community Kitchen, it's not just me, it's a team of people. And I miss that most right now with this pandemic, that I'm not cooking with young people, that I'm not with my learning disabled adults who are amazing and put me to shame with their knife skills. You know, I really do miss that. But
well, you are today. I've got two young people watching you here. So,
all right, so I'm just gonna
14-year-old and 8-year-old.
Well, good, and I hope I inspire them a bit to just be creative. You don't need a recipe book or recipes. Just fling together, man, and try it. All right.
And it smells amazing. Tastes amazing.
Yeah. All right. Someone needs to invent smelly vision. Yeah. Oh, these cats.
We've got Juliet here is saying that we're putting something out there in the atmosphere. Juliet's asking for a class on spice and sauce blends.
Right.
So I could do that. Future.
Yeah, I could do that, and alcohol blends as well. I'm not in the Granville, so I could do alcohol blends. Yeah, so I like doing flavored alcohol and sort of spiced rum and gin, flavored gin.
Hold up now.
Right, so I'm just gonna wash my hands.
You want me on Zoom or do you want me on the floor? Which one would you like?
I'm just gonna rinse my hands quickly because I'm gonna be in flour.
Where's Elliot?
Yeah. And I'll be right back.
So she could use one of the cats.
Yeah.
Elliot doing it live.
Kitchens are wonderful. Hands washed. And we'll go on to the next recipe. So squashes, I think people think squash and pumpkins are an autumn thing, but actually we have so many varieties of winter squashes, from lovely small ones like these, acorn, and to big humongous ones like that. sort of blue ballet squash. And these squashes are like really special to me. Excuse me if I cry, because I haven't grown this one, but I got seeds from this type of squash from the late great seed saver, yeah, who died last year, Levy, yeah, yeah, and we grew these squashes at Granville Community Kitchen, and they sort of turned out different. And last conversation I had with him was, oh, I like how that squash has sort of turned out. Can you save some seeds and bring for me? And the next week he died. So these
He's an
squashes,
amazing man. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. These squashes
Sorry for your loss. Sorry.
Thank you. But you know, he did such amazing work. You know, for a young Black man to sort of move the entire world to save and seed and share and seed. Yeah, and his legacy lives on. All right, so that's why these squashes are very, very special to me, and I still have some of his seeds as well.
Wow, so
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a matter of just saying
My
how
little squash.
nature's still connecting us to the ancestors.
Yeah, you know, for I think all cultures, we have that intrinsic connection to land, to people who've gone before. You know, seeds are powerful. They're little tiny computers, nature's computers that, you know, hold all that information, hold all that knowledge, you know, hold memory and culture and so much more. All right, so this is not Caribbean at all. Yeah, what I'm going to cook next, gnocchi, it's actually Italian.
Yeah.
All right, but you know what? They're dumplings, and Caribbean people love dumplings. Yeah, be it spinners or, you know, sailboat dumplings, which are like these big, massive dumplings. These are dumplings. They're more than flour and water. You know, they have squash in it, so it makes it healthier. So what I did, as I said, roasted squash in the oven for about an hour. Literally, I just cut it in half, scooped out the seeds, dressed it with my favorite chili salt, some five grain pepper, and olive oil, and that's it. And I crushed this. Couldn't find my ricer, so I just used back a spoon. All right, and that's smooth enough. As I said, we don't need fancy equipment, and a lot of people I work with and teaching people how to cook, they don't have fancy equipment. So I always try to do food that just uses the basics that everyone has. So what I'm going to add to this now is a bit of nutmeg. And once again, nutmeg is one of those things that I don't like to use pre-ground. There's wish I could smell that. As soon as I open it, it's like Spice Island. You know, this is Caribbean to me. This is Christmas to me. This is we're baking cakes. Especially at this time of the year where we're baking cakes and, you know, getting prepped for the festive season. So I'm just gonna just a little bit of nutmeg to that.
Dee, sorry to interrupt. I've just dawned on me. We're a couple minutes towards the end of the session. We're at 1:57.
Okay.
So if you're yeah, happy to keep going for a little bit, or we can cut it now because you sent me the recipe.
I sent you the recipe.
Yeah, so let me know what you want to do.
I can continue if people want to hold on. Yeah, I mean, I won't do it up until the end. Or what I could also do is just record it and send it to you. Yeah. So then you have that extra.
You got to keep going. I'm halfway through.
Right, so I'm adding a bit of nutmeg, not too much. All right, and that, I don't know, squashes and nutmeg and all those warm spices just work together. And it won't taste like pumpkin pie. Pumpkin pie mix has like lots of cinnamon, which is sweet. But there's something about, yeah, there's really something there about nutmeg that works with everything. 1 egg, and I always crack eggs into a separate bowl. There's nothing more heartbreaking than dropping a rotten egg into your ingredients and then you have to throw it all away. So I always do that. And this might be different to how I wrote the recipe, all right, but at the end of the day, it all works out the same. So just mixing that in. Yeah, probably don't need to add any more salt or pepper because we already did that when, you know, when I seasoned it. And I have some flour, 120 grams. I don't weigh flour, I just use a measure or a cup. Hasn't failed me yet.
Just quickly to interrupt, thank you Elaine for joining us, who has to go now. She's got to go back to work, but yeah, we will be sending out all the recipes. Dee has very kindly shared them with us, so we will email them out on the Eventbrite email that we got from you once the session's done. Thanks for joining us, Elaine.
Thank you, Elaine. Bye. Yeah, so I'm starting with a spoon, but eventually I'm going to have to use my hands. All right, so this is effectively a dumpling. All right, and I think this is one of my comfort foods. Just these little pillows of doughy, sweet, nutmeggy things that are then sort of boiled quickly.
Sorry, Dee, what flour did you use? Because you know in the recipe it said all-purpose. I wasn't sure if it was plain or self-raising.
All-purpose is plain. I'm actually using bread flour, yeah, because that's all I could find.
Oh.
I mean, purists would use 00, yeah, but I use whatever flour.
Oh, okay.
Right, and it's just
okay, cool.
plain unbleached flour.
Thanks. Okay, thanks. Plain flour.
I said it's using what you have and not being too.
Look how she's bringing it together with the pumpkin and the flour. Just put some flour in there. We're going to mix it together with the pumpkin when it's ready.
Right, and what we're aiming for is a dryish, not sticky, not wet, but not too dry and doughy either, because we want that fluffiness. No need for water. And I know some people boil or steam their squash or their potatoes. Potatoes, I think, work better steamed. Squash works better roasted, because then you're not adding extra water to it. And then that's what you end up doing, adding more and more flour to get it. Right, so that's a bit sticky, so I just need to add a bit more flour, and then we're just gonna roll that out. I'll show you the technique, and then after that you're on your own, because all you have to do is cook them in some boiling water. When they float to the top, they're cooked.
And what would you eat them with? Just
I like to fry sage, which is me channeling Martha Stewart. Yeah. All right, so she has a similar recipe, and where she browns butter and fries the sage until they get crispy, and then after these are boiled, after the gnocchi is boiled, she just tosses it in the warm brown butter. Sprinkle of Parmesan on it. Perfect, perfect. Just comfort.
Brilliant. Definitely doing this.
Dee, do you know if there's anything we could use as a substitute if you don't eat egg?
Yes, and I have made them quite successfully without eggs. You can use a linseed egg.
Okay, great.
So you use freshly ground linseed. I can't remember the proportions, but if you look up linseed egg, it will show the proportions. I think it's 2 to 1. 2 parts linseed to 1 part warm water. And you leave that to sit, and it actually becomes this big, thick gel that looks like egg white.
Wow,
yeah,
great. I will definitely
and you
make
could
this.
use that instead. Or you could use like one of the egg replacements. And I have tried it with egg replacements and didn't find it works as well.
Great, thank you.
Right, so this needs a bit more flour because it's still pretty sticky. And there we go. 1 handful of flour. All right, I think that's it. Yeah, and I think for a lot of Caribbean women, we spend a lot of our life kneading flour, making bread, making roti, making pastries, and making dumplings.
But don't knock it, Dee. Those skills made me be a therapist. I didn't really have to train for massage therapy because I've been kneading dumpling my whole life.
I'm not knocking it, not knocking it. Not knocking it. There we go. So that's nice. Yeah, it's not sticky, but it's still soft and not too doughy. I think with Caribbean dumplings, we want them hard. So we add quite a lot of flour. A lot of flour. So for me, this is a healthier option, more nutritious option of having dumplings.
There's a question there from Elizabeth, but I'm not sure. Elizabeth, you said, would you just sauce with butter? I think there's a word missing, but
yeah. So your sauce is butter.
Yeah. Okay. I
yeah,
think that...
because all the flavors in the actual gnocchi, you don't want to add
You don't want anything
stuff.
else. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Whereas with a potato one, you need to add flavor.
Yeah.
All right, so this is my method. I'm not Italian, Nana. But I thank all the Italian nanas for their wisdom in the kitchen and for creating all these wonderful foods that we all enjoy. So yeah, so you're just making like a little log. And then probably something about that size.
Nice.
And I know there might be Italian, I know my Italian bestie might be thinking, no woman, not like that. As I said, I respect and honor. I try to stay true to the authenticity of things as much as possible. So I hope I'm doing the Italian nanas proud. And I need another fork. All right, so you're just making like little pillows like that. And then you're not crushing it all the way down. You're just sort of making an indentation, and that's to help it pick up whatever you're saucing. So then you'll continue, right, until you have like a plate. You know, a lot of Caribbean food and African food time goes into the prep, as well as a lot of Italian food. It goes into the prep, and then it doesn't take as long to cook. So that's my first batch. And what I'll do, I won't do all. Rule 101, clear as you go along.
Is someone doing the dishes for you behind the scenes, Dee?
No.
What are they there for?
Jay, could you put some water to boil for me, please? And put on the pack of choppy bickies. Yeah, so I'll just do another morsel. Yeah, so normally I'll do this on my kitchen counter or on something marble because it's cold. I don't know why. I just do like it easier, one less thing to wash up.
Yeah.
And when the kettle is finished boiling, I think my love for food came from sort of my parents and my family, and growing up in Trinidad, which is quite a diverse culture with so many people from all over the world, including Italian people. So I've grown up cooking quite a lot of different foods, as well as the sort of what we'd call Creole foods. Like the first dish I made would be considered Creole because you're just bringing together lots of different things.
Yeah, I'll have to think of how many stories are included, how many histories and how many stories in all of these different recipes.
Right, because I mean, squash came from the New World. Yeah, you know, squash, tomatoes, chilies, and think about how many different cultures and foodways that use all these foods, and especially Italian culture with tomatoes and peppers and right. Do I have hot water? I do. And I like cooking in cast iron and heavy enamel steel and clay. All right, so this is actually, this I can actually cook in. I never use aluminium. Stainless steel as well. Yeah. All right, so I'm just gonna put this on. It won't take long because it's already boiled. All right, so that's just some. All right, and then this is how I roll. So I'm gonna multitask, which is what most cooks and family cooks and community cooks have to do. We multitask. So in that, I'm gonna do the sage and butter. This, I'm gonna do the gnocchi. I'm just gonna add a little bit of salt, not much, bit of sea salt. Just waiting for it to come back to a rolling boil. And you can use oil, I would say. You could use oil as well. Olive oil perhaps, but I think with the butter you get a richness. But you can use one of the good sort of vegan butters that are out there now as well. And one knife for everything. And then once that comes back to a rolling boil.
Is there anything we can use instead of sage? Can't find it for love nor money. Can we use basil or thyme or?
What your favourite herb is?
Yeah,
right,
we've got a bit of basil.
I'm not sure basil.
Yeah, work.
Yeah, but I mean, you can use basil at the end. I just happen to have this big sage bush.
Oh, I got a big basil bush.
All right, but just one of these things that started off as a tiny plant and just took over. And I think because most people use sage with meat and pork, it's not one of those popular herbs. So a lot of people don't eat meat really. So those are frying. I'm putting in my little orange dumplings of bliss. And I mean, it literally is so simple.
And gnocchis are finally ready.
Yeah, they look great.
Right, I mean, that's what I said. It is the prep, but they cook really, really quickly. Fresh pasta always cooks quickly. 3 minutes tops. My sage is frying away. And this is the one time you don't have to worry about, you still don't want your butter to burn, you're just browning it. Yeah, I'm trying to think of another herb that might work. Might be thyme. Yeah. And just to sort of pan fry that until it's crispy. Yeah, that's almost ready.
Oh, it looks so great. No, that's gonna taste good. So I think we're coming to well, we're 18 minutes past, so I think we won't go past 20 past. But thank you so much, Dee. This looks like I'm so hungry. I'm literally sitting here with my mouth watering. Elliot has actually made a comment. Yeah, that's 3 meals in less than 2 hours, but actually in less than an hour and a half. That's 3 meals there.
But they prep 2 hours beforehand.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, then it's 2 hours.
I'm doing this tonight, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, send us pictures, Kate.
Yeah. And I see Antoinette. Did you do the gnocchi as well?
Can't show it to you anymore. It's in the pot.
Oh right, okay.
I've got my 8-year-old diligently rolling gnocchi for her.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, just remember, you don't want it tough. You don't want it stiff like our Caribbean.
No, they're going in. They're going in.
Trust, you know, as long as
new milk.
Yeah.
Oh,
look, she's taking my gnocchi out.
They're coming out.
We'll have to watch to the end now.
We'll see.
We can't leave.
We need to see them in a bowl, don't we?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we need to see them in a bowl. And Jaden will get one of my nice black bowls for me. Yeah, I have a thing for clay and black clay and black bowls and Trinity colors, red, white, and black. Right, and red being the base chakra as well, and food as as being that thing that roots us, or roots us to the earth. All right, those are good. Nice sage. All right. Do not do this at home. As I said, I have asbestos hands after years. All right, there we go. Easy. So you just drain them. That's your gnocchi. All right, and what we should have here now is some nice brown butter that's flavored with the sage, because technically that's what you're doing. You're just flavoring the butter. So thyme would work. Any of those hard sort of leafy herbs will work. And I am looking for some bit of equipment. All right, so that's lovely and brown. These are crispy. Putting that on a plate. And you can't see off camera, but I will show you when I'm done. Move over, Martha Stewart. Okay, not quite Martha Stewart yet, but go. And I have Parmesan somewhere. Sprinkling some Parmesan. And there we go. That's so
Wow.
favorite comfort. One of my favorite comfort foods.